This wasn't just a rant. This was a spiral. Now, for the first time, the whispers aren't about impeachment. They're about the 25th Amendment, Section 4, the incapacity clause. Are we watching the psychological collapse of a sitting president in real time? And will the cabinet actually pull the trigger? We have the logs, we have the leaks, and we have the terrifying reality of what happens next. Click the link. You need to see this. Washington, D.C., January 29th, 2026. The Capitol is waking up to a constitutional crisis that didn't start in a courtroom or a voting booth. It started in the palm of one man's hand on a smartphone screen in the middle of the night. We have seen Donald Trump angry before. We have seen him vindictive. But what happened last night and what has been happening with increasing frequency over the last 3 months of this second term is something different. It is not politics. It is pathology. Between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m., President Trump issued a barrage of digital commands and incoherent threats that have shaken even his most loyal loyalists. He attacked foreign leaders who are currently our allies. He demanded the arrest of a talk show host. He claimed to be in a meeting with people who were not in the building, and in one case, not even alive. Today, the phones in the Senate are ringing off the hook. The phrase trending on every social platform isn't MAGA. It is the 25th Amendment, specifically Section 4, the involuntary removal of a president who is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Welcome back. What you are about to hear is a reconstruction of the last 12 hours inside the White House, based on leaks, public data, and the frantic signals coming from Capitol Hill. We are going to look at the spiraling night, the recent speeches that set the stage, and the mechanical reality of how and if Donald Trump could be removed from power by his own people. This is the 25th hour. To understand why calls for the 25th Amendment are exploding now, we have to look at the data. This isn't just about one bad night. It's about a pattern of acceleration. In late 2025, specifically on December 2nd, the president logged what pundits called the Night of 160 posts. It was a fury of activity that The Guardian reported as surpassing previous prolific bouts of ranting. He posted faster than one message per minute. But last night, the behavior shifted from aggressive to delusional. At 2:42 a.m., the president posted a declaration that he had signed an executive order banning the tides. Not the political tides, the ocean tides. Minutes later, he deleted it, replacing it with a vicious attack on Stephen Colbert, calling him a pathetic train wreck and demanding the FCC revoke CBS's license, a threat he has made before, but never with this level of vitriol at such an hour. Expert. We analyze linguistic complexity. In 2016, Donald Trump spoke at a roughly 6th grade level. In 2024, it was 4th grade. In these late-night bursts in 2026, the syntax is breaking down completely. We see clanging where words are chosen for sound rather than meaning. We see persecution delusions. This isn't strategy, it's decompensation. The warning signs have been public. In late 2025, during an address to 800 top military leaders in Virginia, the president deviated from the teleprompter to warn of an invasion from within. He suggested that American cities should be used as training grounds for war. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker called the speech, frankly, inane, and stated, "I'm concerned for his health." This was the first time a major state governor publicly pivoted from calling the president wrong to calling him unwell. And then the UN General Assembly, a speech where the president claimed to have ended 7 wars that do not exist, and rambled about the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize going to Venezuela's Maria Corina Machado, claiming he was the one who actually won it. The diplomats didn't boo. They sat in stunned silence. So, what triggered last night's spiral? Sources indicate a convergence of 3 high-pressure events that cracked the president's composure. Factor 1, the economy. Despite promises, the tariffs implemented in early 2025 have caused a recession in the manufacturing sector. Factor 2, the betrayal. Leaks suggest that key allies, possibly even within the cabinet, have been quietly meeting with Vice President J.D. Vance. Factor 3, the media. A coordinated late-night segment by late-night hosts mocking his mental glitch at a recent rally where he froze for 30 seconds. At 11:30 p.m., the president reportedly threw his secure phone against the wall of the yellow Oval Room. An aide retrieved it. The screen was cracked. He demanded another. By 1 a.m., the posting began. But unlike previous rants, these posts lacked a clear enemy. He lashed out at the phantom generals. He referenced the switch inside the voting machines in Serbia, a conspiracy theory debunked months ago, but one he has fixated on since Elon Musk's brief, chaotic tenure in the administration. Speaking of Musk, the on-again, off-again bromance described by New York Magazine has turned off. Last night, Trump reposted a claim that Musk is a deep state plant, only to delete it 4 minutes later and post, "Elon is a genius, but weak." The vacillation is rapid. It indicates an inability to hold a consistent thought or strategy. This brings us to the nuclear option, the 25th Amendment. Ratified in 1967, it was designed for the Kennedy assassination era to clarify succession. But Section 4 was written for a president who is alive but not there. The language is specific. It requires the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and a majority of the cabinet to send a written declaration to the Speaker of the House and the President pro tempore of the Senate. J.D. Vance is the linchpin. Without him, the cabinet is powerless. And this is where the political drama becomes a Shakespearean tragedy. Vance is 41 years old. He is the future of the MAGA movement. If he strikes the king, he must kill the king. If he invokes the 25th and fails, his career is over. Who would stand with him? The Secretary of State? Likely, given the diplomatic disasters at the UN. The Secretary of Defense? Almost certainly. The military is reportedly rattled by the invasion from within rhetoric and the suggestion of using troops in American cities. But the loyalists, the ones appointed specifically for their fealty, that is the math problem keeping Washington awake tonight. Scholar. Section 4 has never been used. It is the break glass in case of emergency box. But it's not a permanent removal immediately. If Vance and the cabinet sign the letter, Trump is stripped of power instantly. Vance becomes acting president, but Trump can send a letter saying, "I am fine." Then he gets his power back unless Vance and the cabinet send another letter within 4 days. Then Congress has to vote, and they need a 2/3 majority to keep him out. That is a higher bar than impeachment. Let's dive deep into the room where it happens. Reports from The Guardian and CBS News over the last year have hinted at quiet conversations regarding the president's fitness, but last night's spiral has turned quiet conversations into urgent conference calls. The cabinet is divided into 3 factions. Faction 1, the true believers. These are the appointees who believe Trump is fighting a spiritual war. They view his late-night spirals as stamina or 4D chess. They will never sign. Faction 2, the institutionalists. These are the people terrified of an accidental war. They read the nuclear football protocols. They are ready to sign, but they need cover. Faction 3, the opportunists. This is where the game is played. They are waiting to see which way the wind blows. If the media narrative shifts from Trump is angry to Trump is invalid, they will jump ship to save their own reputations. Pressure is mounting from the outside. Reporter Madeline Dean and a growing coalition of lawmakers have been calling for this since the start of the term. But now even conservative outlets are growing quiet. The silence from the usual defenders is deafening. We must address the elephant in the room, the medical reality. We are not diagnosing from afar, but we are reporting the observations of those close to him. The Goldwater rule prevents psychiatrists from diagnosing public figures without examination, but many are now breaking that silence, citing a duty to warn. The New York Times reported in late 2024 that Trump's speeches had become darker, harsher, longer, angrier, less focused. They noted a 69% increase in swear words, a sign of disinhibition, a classic symptom of frontal lobe degradation. The Atlantic noted striking patterns commonly seen among people in cognitive decline. Look at the physicality. In 2016, the movements were sharp, aggressive. Today, there is a drift, a meandering quality. Last night's posts weren't just angry, they were confused. He referenced the late, great Hannibal Lecter again, not as a joke, but in the context of immigration policy, blurring fiction and reality. A leaked description from a former aide in the second administration claims he doesn't sleep. He watches replays of his own rallies from 2020. He asks why the crowd isn't cheering now. He thinks the TV is live when it's a recording. If this is true, the President of the United States is living in a time loop. Why does this matter right now? Because the world is watching. Intelligence reports suggest that adversaries, China, Russia, Iran, are monitoring the president's sleep cycle. They know when he is posting. They know when he is spiraling. The nightmare scenario isn't a tweet. It's an order. If the president, in a fit of delusion at 3 a.m., orders a strike because he believes he is being invaded from within, the military chain of command faces a crisis. Do they disobey a lawful order, or do they execute the will of a man who is mentally compromised? This is why the 25th Amendment exists. It is the safety valve. But it is a valve that requires human courage to turn. If Vance pulls the trigger, the Republican Party fractures. The MAGA base will see it as the ultimate betrayal, the deep state coup they have been warned about, executed by their own vice president. Civil unrest is a near certainty. The calls for protests are already circulating on encrypted apps. But if they don't act and the president's condition worsens, we risk a catastrophic error, a market crash, a war, a complete collapse of the executive branch. The GOP is trapped. They are riding a tiger, and the tiger has gone mad. The sun has risen over Washington. The posting spree has stopped for now. The president is likely sleeping, but the country is wide awake. We are in uncharted territory. We have had sick presidents before. Wilson had a stroke. FDR was dying. Reagan had early Alzheimer's. But we have never had a president whose decline was broadcast in real time, post by post, to billions of people. The 25th Amendment is no longer a theory. It is a draft letter sitting on a desk in the Eisenhower Executive Office building. The only question left is, who has the pen? This story is developing by the minute. If the cabinet moves, we will know within hours. If they don't, we brace for the next night and the next. Donald Trump's longest night might just be the beginning of America's longest month. To truly grasp the gravity of this moment, we must look back. The 25th Amendment was not a weapon, it was a shield. Following the death of JFK, Congress realized the terrifying ambiguity of a president who survives but cannot govern. Senator Birch Bayh, the father of the amendment, envisioned a coma or a stroke. He did not envision a social media meltdown. He did not envision a president who could stand at a podium and speak for 2 hours, yet make no sense. This is the gray zone of the 25th Amendment. The night of 160 posts is our modern equivalent of a stroke. It is a cognitive seizure. Let's look closely at the content of those posts. Deep dive into specific posts. The Mark Kelly attack. Trump attacked Senator Mark Kelly for reminding troops they can disobey unlawful orders. Trump wrote, Mark Kelly and the group of unpatriotic politicians were wrong. This signals a dangerous obsession with absolute control over the military, a theme echoed in his Virginia speech. The Serbian conspiracy. Reposting the claim about Serbian IP addresses changing votes. This is a regression to 2020 grievances, ignoring the reality of the 2024 victory. It shows an inability to accept the present. The Nobel Prize delusion. His claim at the UN that he won the Nobel Peace Prize, which went to Maria Corina Machado, suggests a disconnect from shared reality. This is not spin. It is confabulation, the brain filling in gaps with desired truths. And what of the vice president? J.D. Vance has been careful. His public statements are loyal, but his private movements, we know he has met with constitutional scholars. We know he has met with donors who are concerned. There is a theory mentioned by the International Bar Association that if Trump became enough of a liability, Vance would lead a bloodless coup. Is this that moment? The 25th Amendment requires a declaration. It does not require a medical diagnosis. It is a political judgment of capacity. If the cabinet decides the president's behavior, the sleeplessness, the paranoia, the erratic decision-making threatens the nation, that is enough. But the counter-argument is fierce. Trump's defenders argue that the 25th Amendment is a tool for the deep state to override the will of the voters. 75 million people voted for him. Can 15 unelected cabinet members undo that? This is the tension that threatens to tear the country apart. History is watching. If the 25th Amendment is invoked, it sets a precedent for every future presidency. If it is not invoked and disaster strikes, history will ask why those with the power to stop it stood by and watched the spiral. The lights are burning in the White House. The world is holding its breath.